What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a subscriber Q&A video. That's right. I did the drawing for the 2 giveaway items that were sent to me courtesy of Chet O. I really appreciate the channel donations. So I've got 2 items that I gave away. VC 240, the 501st Legion Clone Trooper, as well as the VC 113 reissue of the Republic Trooper. And right now I'm going to show you down in the bottom corner who won those 2 items, and the 2 winners were Eduardo P and Nino Brown. Please reach out to me with your mailing addresses. Eduardo, I've already got his mailing address because he's a Patreon supporter, but I wanted to show the graphic showing me doing the selection for those 2 wins. And Eduardo won the 240 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and Nino, you won the VC 113 Republic Trooper. So I've got a couple of other little extras I'm going to throw in there when I ship those items. But Nino, I don't have your mailing address, so please be sure to reach out, and I'll get those items off either later this week or next week. Let's dig into some subscriber questions. And as you can see here, it spans the gamut. Everything from angry wives to how did I start collecting to talking about the economic environment out there. And that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see some good questions. And one other quick note, if I didn't get to your question, it's only because I went in order. I went in the order received, and I'm going to kind of use some of those other questions for future Q&A videos. So thank you to everyone who submitted and to everyone who joined the contest. Cranky Rancor, here's what his question was. With so many fakes/forgeries out there, how can you be sure of an authentic loose vinyl cape Jawa? Cheers, Adam. Well, Cranky Rancor, this is a very timely topic because one of my subscribers picked up a loose, ungraded vinyl cape Jawa, and it did not have the correct cape, unfortunately. It was an Obi-Wan Kenobi cape that was cut to kind of look like it. So, me personally, there is no way I am buying a loose, ungraded vinyl cape Jawa unless it is a very trusted seller. Somebody that I've dealt with in the past, somebody that I know I can trust and who will back it up with their word and with their reputation. No way I'd buy one on eBay or anything like that. So you got to be really careful with those because there's a lot of people out there trying to basically pass off a $15 Jawa and cut the cape and make it look legitimate. So I would just be really careful on vinyl cape Jawas because especially now they've gotten so expensive. I mean, it's crazy. High grade vinyl cape Jawas, loose, ungraded, can set you back $2,000 now. It's complete insanity how much those have gone up. So I would be very careful. And it's not just for vinyl cape Jawas. I see all the time repro weapons, mismatched weapons, fake accessories, things like that. So that was the one item that gave me pause for doing videos on loose, complete, ungraded items, whether it's vehicles or figures, things like that. It's just there's so much scum and villainy on eBay that you got to be super careful. But it's a great question, and you got to tread carefully. Rocket City Sith, he is a longtime channel subscriber, and I've got to meet him personally. So thank you for the question. How much more percentage-wise do you think the price increase is for vintage collection between punched and unpunched cards? I decided to do a little experiment, okay? So what I did was I pulled up a random sampling of different vintage collection figures that sold here recently, both punched and unpunched on eBay. So these are all legitimate closed transactions. And I also, it's kind of difficult, but I tried to give an average if there were multiple sales, and I tried to only pick near mint condition items. So I didn't want to pick very low-end items because they had creases or, some other kind of bubble dings, things like that. And I looked at punched versus unpunched, and this is not a scientific sampling. Let me get that out of the way, okay? So I pulled up General Grievous, Weequay, the original Weequay VC-107, not the Skiff Guard outfit. The VC-115 Vader Emperor's Wrath, the original, not the reissue, Shea Vizsla. Ahsoka, the original again, not the reissue. Luke Dagobah Landing, Jango Fett, Grand Moff Tarkin, and then VC-13, the Anakin Skywalker with the Vader name pill. That one seems to be a little bit more common and a lot more sales. And so I looked at the price, some recent sales prices for punched versus unpunched, and where appropriate, I took an average, or I excluded items that were really high or really low. I tried to pull auction data, okay? Not buy it now situations where potentially somebody just overpaid for something. And here was the percentage difference in price for punched versus unpunched for all the different figures. And the average that I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, these 9 TVC 1.0 figures, the average was 29.6%. So take that for what you will. Again, it's not scientific. It's certainly not complete. But I think a round number, and before I went into this, I guessed, and I said it was going to be somewhere in the 25 to 30% range. Now, certainly there's going to be exceptions, right? The Canadian VC20 Yoda, that's a very rare card. I would imagine that it's probably not 30%, the punch versus unpunched for that one, because it's just so hard to find that one. Potentially with the Mouse Droid or the Salacious Crumb that were STCC exclusives. Things like that, I think that maybe the percentage is different or lower between punched and unpunched. But I thought this was a pretty good sample size. And, again, going into it, I said 25 to 30%, and it ended up being 29.6%. So take that for what you will, but I thought it was kind of a fun exercise, and it kept me busy. So thank you for that question. Next up, Tony Rica, another Patreon supporter. He says, how do you feel about the current market? And he's talking about the toy market. We're going to talk about broadly the economic market in a second. But he says, it seems like there's a little bit of a dip, but not nearly as bad as I expected right now. And I would agree with that. I would agree that there has been a slight dip, especially for common items, common loose graded figures like, Hong Kong Boba Fett's, for example. Those prices have come down. Any kind of, very common, easy to find figure, it seems like the prices have come down a little bit. Certainly the last Hakes auction was another good data point, with prices, depending on who you talk to, down anywhere from 30 to 60%, depending on the item. It seems like the estimated range that Hakes had for a particular item, the items came in below or towards the lower end of the range for most of the items. There was not a lot of them that went well above the price range. So yes, I do think that there's been a little bit of a dip, and it has not been nearly as bad as expected. But I do think that we're at the very beginning of this. And I kind of talked about this when I talked about a market peak. And I was pounding the table saying that we're at a market peak. And who knows if I'm right or not. And I think that, in the video, I said that this fall, we're going to start seeing the effects of people's budgets being constrained by a high inflation environment. And certainly we just saw the inflation numbers came out for August, and they were way worse than expected. The stock market got cratered. And I think that eventually it's going to trickle down into collectibles even more than it already has. I fully expect that October, November, December, especially heading into the holidays, people's budgets are tight. They got holidays coming up, and some people, they're struggling just to get groceries on the table and pay the rent, pay utilities. So I think that eventually we're going to start seeing more and more people kind of divest themselves of their collections to kind of help pay for bills. I hope I'm wrong, but I think that's going to happen. Cobra Kai, he says, again, tying kind of into what Tony asked, I'd love an update on where you see the economy going. He's an economy nerd like myself. Where do you think it's going to go in the next 6 to 12 months and its impact on the market? I think I talked about the action figure market enough, with Tony's last question, but I think we're at the very beginning of a recession. I think that the inflation data that just came out certainly supports the idea that the Fed in the U.S. is going to continue to raise interest rates to kind of get inflation down. Inflation is sticky. It's really hard to get rid of inflation once it becomes entrenched in the economy. And that's been proven with the latest economic data that just came out. And the stock market absolutely got crushed. The Dow was down 1,200 points earlier this week. And I'm a little bit worried. Me personally, the real estate market has dried up. I'm in real estate, and my phone is not ringing. And it concerns me. It concerns me. And I think that that we're at the very beginning of it, with interest rates higher, 30-year mortgages are higher, and everything else trickles down from interest rates. And this is kind of, I've beat it to death in other videos. You can certainly go back on the channel and look at some of my economics videos. I've actually thought about starting a separate channel just devoted to kind of economics and economic news, because I don't know if it really fits on this channel. And I don't expect it to get big. I think I'd really tie it into my work more than anything, and just use it as a new kind of channel for getting eyeballs on me, and and hopefully people will call me for real estate. But I do think that there's a need for people to kind of be cautious right now, And me personally, I am not going to be buying a lot the rest of the year. And I'm going to talk more about that with some of these other questions. Danny Allen, he says, you spoke of figuring out collection goals. That's been very helpful for me personally. What are your collecting goals for the year and over the near future? Are there certain items you're hunting? Well, I would say that I've had a pretty good run. You know, I've gotten some really nice items this year. I've picked up a number of mint on card items, some nice rare loose figures, loose graded figures, vintage collection. Obviously, I've got some. I've got comics that I've picked up. So me personally, I've had a great run. And I think that, as alluding to some of these other questions we've just talked about, I'm really concerned about me career-wise moving into this fall and into the winter, which are historically pretty dead periods for me personally for work. So I don't expect me personally to buy much. It's going to be small stuff, if anything. I just, I can't justify spending money on collectibles right now when I'm concerned about my personal career. And that's kind of where I am. Now, that being said, I've talked in past videos about how I've prepared for this. I am much, much more personally prepared financially than I was for the last major downturn, which was in 2007, 2008, during the Great Recession. I was not prepared then, and I did not expect that to happen, number one, but I didn't think it would see such a dramatic drop-off in my personal income. My income got cut by 75% during the last 07-08 recession. I'm expecting the next recession to maybe last that long, 12 to 18 months, but I don't know if it's going to be nearly as bad. It's going to be kind of a trickle business for me. It's not going to be a complete fall off the cliff, but my phone is not ringing, and it's concerning enough to me personally that anything else I pick up most likely is going to be very small. Maybe some loose graded figures, maybe some trading cards, maybe a comic or two, but I think my collecting budget will be cut dramatically, probably 25. It'll be 25% of what it has been historically. I just can't justify it. And again, don't cry me a river or anything like that. I'm certainly not whining. I'm very well prepared financially. I have investment properties. I've got a very good savings account set up. But there's a lot of people that aren't. And for those people, I hope that they take this to heart. That me personally, I was in investment banking. I've been in finance, in the past, and I'm in real estate now. So I'm very much directly plugged in to, at least locally, and kind of looking at macroeconomically what's going on. I think we're going to be in for a long and prolonged, very dark period in our economy. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope my phone starts ringing off the hook after this video is made, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be really ugly moving forward. And I would just caution you, for those of you who are spending willy-nilly, Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys, I'm looking at you. If you're spending willy-nilly and you don't have your savings set up, I'm just begging you to please be careful, because I really am concerned about where our economy is hitting, at least in the U.S. I mean, Europe's already in a recession. That's definitely happening. So I would just be really cautious. Pat O'Brien, longtime channel subscriber, friend, and Patreon supporter. If you had to choose a favorite figure in the entire vintage collection line, just one, who would it be? If I'm going to pick just one, it's going to be VC44 Luke Skywalker Dagobah Landing. I absolutely love that figure. That was the very first vintage collection figure I picked up at the recommendation of Boss Bounty. And the more I look at it in my collection, I've got it graded CAS 90. I love the card art. It captures a moment that was not captured on card backs for the vintage Kenner run. I think it captures one of the most perfect moments and a seminal moment in Star Wars movie history. And that's my favorite. Grievous is up there, though. I just got that Chet and Mike sent me those beautiful Grievous figures. It's been one that's been on my want list for a very, very long time, and I've just been so hesitant to buy it. And then Chet and Mike sent me the foil and the non-foil variant. I mean, wow. I'm still in awe about it. I mean, I'm still shocked about it. They're already at CAS. I had to send them in to get graded, but thank you guys again so much. But if I had to pick just one, and that was what the question was from Pat, then it's going to be VC44 Luke Dagobah Landing. Joey Ryder, he says, a question I've always wondered is why the bubbles on TVC 2.0 keep getting larger than what they used to be in the first run of TVC. Some are so wide that it ruins the card art. And I got to tell you, Joey, I agree with that. I mean, look, we're complaining about something that we don't need to complain about, though. I'll say this. I mean, there was a time where there was rumors that Vintage Collection was not going to have any bubbles. They were going to go plastic free for the Vintage Collection. Luckily, Hasbro listened to the toy community, and they're not getting rid of the blisters or the bubbles. So I hear you loud and clear on that, but it could be a lot worse, folks. We could be having like the Black Series boxes where it's just a big, ugly picture of the action figure, and I don't want that. Me personally, I don't want that. Now, am I going to be buying a lot of TVC moving forward, at least until my job settles out? No. I canceled a lot of pre-orders, unfortunately, just to be safe. But I do think that the blisters are wider. I agree with that. But you got to look at the bright side, Joey. Look at the bright side. At least we have blisters moving forward, and it's not something I am going to rail on Hasbro about, because at least they listened to us and they left the blisters intact instead of going to plastic-free packaging. David Steffens, he says, really pleased that you became, you have in possession your Grievous, and ×2 at that. What will you talk about on your TVC updates now? That's a good question. On that question, I don't know what my next TVC purchase is going to be. It's probably not going to be anything major for a long time. It'll probably be a second-tier kind of character like the Rogue One Imperial Tank Commander, somebody like that I've been wanting and just kind of put to the back burner, but is lower priced. It's in the $60 to $80 range. If I'm collecting right now, that's the kind of item I want to collect. I'm not going to be buying any mint on card Cloud Car pilots anytime soon. I can tell you that. It's just something that I can't do. His other question was, what would you like to see Hasbro release for the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi? This was a great question. Me personally, I really want to see Squidhead, the Quarren, the accountant for Jabba. I'd love to see him. I'd love to see a brand new Jabba's playset. I think it would be really cool to see like a vintage style Jabba's playset. Obviously we're getting Jabba's throne room with from the Book of Boba Fett in the HasLab, but it would be really cool if they re-released Jabba's playset, even in the old Kenner mold. I'd be okay with that, with kind of slightly updated packaging, but still harkening back to the vintage Kenner days. That would be great. I would love for them to see. I would love for them to maybe pick and choose some of the pieces from the Biker Scout gaming grade and somehow repurpose that for a Return of the Jedi Biker Scout. That's something I'd like to see. I don't know if that will happen because the head on that was too small, so it might just require too much, retooling to make that happen. But at a minimum, I would love to see Squidhead. I think, as part of the finish of the 96, he's one we absolutely need, and he's one of my favorite kind of Return of the Jedi characters. I would love to see that happen, but whether it happens or not, who knows? I'm sure that Hasbro has something in the works for us. Michael Albertson, another Patreon supporter and good friend of mine. When was the last time I had a similar reaction to the surprise like those two General Grievous, and what was the item? I can tell you right now, two of them, actually. James Marlin, who is a longtime channel watcher, he sent me a Boba Fett Error sticker card, Canadian Boba Fett, with Boba Fett in the blister, Boba Fett card back with a Baba Error sticker, and that one really shocked me. That was such a generous thing because James didn't know me at all, but he watched the channel. He got my address from Boss Bounty, and lo and behold, he sent that to me. And I'm still in shock about that because that's a very expensive item and continues to go up. The other one was from Carlos. He sent me a 1980s bootleg Squid Head that was kind of like a giveaway for kids at kids parties. It has like a bootleg cape, a bootleg belt, a bootleg blaster, and I got that one graded and authenticated by CAS. It's graded 80, and that one was a very generous item because they can sell loose ungraded for $500 now, and he had a bunch of them, and he very kindly sent that to me. I'm still kind of in shock about that, and I've had that one for a couple of years now. So those are the two that come to the top of my mind when from your question, Michael. Next up, Case in 2006. How long have I been collecting action figures, and what got you started? I probably really got serious about it. I had some stuff from, early 2000s, right after I graduated college and started working. A lot of the Power of the Force stuff I had kind of in boxes, but I started getting serious about it probably 2005, 2006. With the 25th anniversary G.I. Joes that Hasbro re-released. I got a lot of those. I still got them up on like a collection wall. They're not graded or anything. It's just kind of for decoration. And then I started kind of trickling into Power of the Force 2 graded after watching a lot of blacked out Ewoks on YouTube. And then I started getting to loose graded and mint on card. And I started really getting serious about it probably, I would guess 2010-ish would be when I got really serious about it. Before I even got on YouTube, I probably had 50 to 75 loose graded figures and graded mint on cards, things like that. I started sending stuff into AFA, and then I started filming it probably in 2018, somewhere in there. But I think when I really got serious about graded collections and graded kind of vintage figures, it was probably more like 2015-ish, somewhere in there. I'm just going on memory. It's all kind of a blur pre-sobriety for me, but that's kind of a rough idea. Daniel Coleman, he had a really great question. He says, was your wife into Star Wars at all when you met? Did you have your massive collection at the time? No, I'm really old, really old. I met my wife in college, actually. I met her my senior year of college. So this would be in 1999. And we got married in 2002. So we've been married for 20 years this year, believe it or not. And no, I didn't really have a big collection. I had some Power of the Force stuff. I had some kind of loose stuff around. I had some comics, things like that. But I didn't have like a big collection or keep it in my, rental when I was in college or anything like that. It was all in my mom's house. But she does go along with me. She's not 100% behind it, but she watches the new shows with me. She likes Star Wars. We have Star Wars art. I had some art done by a local artist. It's kind of close-ups of Princess Leia and then Han Solo, kind of like a black and white painting of each, and they're big. They're really big, and they're in our kitchen. We just had our kitchen redone, and I was shocked when she decided to have those hanging up on a kind of an accent wall. And then she also got a throw rug in the kitchen that is all Star Wars. And you wouldn't know it if you looked at it, but you have to look at it really closely, and then you notice kind of the stormtrooper helmets and things like that. So she's behind me. She's very supportive of the channel, and she lets me kind of do it. But, I think that she tolerates it / likes it a little bit. I think that's probably the best way to kind of go for it. And I had a related question here from Jeff Moore. When you started the channel, did you ever think it would grow to what it is now? I've got about 4,300 subscribers. No, to answer your question, I thought when I started the channel, it was very awkward. It was basically something to keep me sober because I was just fresh from, treatment. And I didn't think it would ever grow to anything more than maybe a few hundred subscribers. I thought in my wildest dreams, I might have 1,000 subscribers, and then in my wildest dreams, I might get monetized. And then in my wildest dreams, I might have some Patreon supporters. Well, here we are now with 4,300 subscribers. I've got Patreon supporters. It's a monetized channel. And, it's literally because of you guys. Everyone that watches my stupid videos, I cannot thank you enough. And no, there's no way in heck that I thought it would be 4,300 subscribers. There's always going to be larger channels out there. I'm never going to be Boss Bounty having 23,000 subscribers. But the fact that it's even what it is right now is mind-blowing to me. You guys watch thousands of hours of content every single month, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. His other question was, does my wife help me in organizing my collection and set of displays? The answer is no, but she does come and watch shows with me and football games and things like that in here, and she loves it. She loves the way it looks. It's my only room in the entire house that I have complete and total control over, and she lets me kind of do my thing, so I'm very appreciative of that. Next up, Adam Fishbones. He says, if I had to start my collection over again from scratch today, how would you prioritize your collection? This is a great question. I've thought about that a lot. I thought about just selling it all and just having a YouTube channel talking about toys and not having any toys, because it's an expensive hobby. It's an expensive hobby. And I'm kind of entering that phase now where I just don't pick up that much stuff. I might pick up 1 or 2 items now a month at most. And, with my economic concerns, as I alluded to earlier, I'm probably not going to be picking up much for the foreseeable future in the next 3 to 6 months. So, but I think that if I was going to start over from scratch, I would probably, I don't know if I'd change too much about it. I'd probably have a few bootlegs. I'd probably have more licensed figures and less bootlegs. I've got way too many bootlegs in my collection, but I probably I don't know if I'd have as many vintage collection graded as I do. I'd probably just have them in star cases, things like that. But it's a lot of fun, and my collecting mood changes. I've got comics, I've got vintage stuff, vintage collection. So it's fun to kind of change and shift gears. And now that I'm entering a gear where I'm being more frugal, you know, trading cards have certainly entered the equation and have kind of raised my radar, so to speak, because you can pick up some really nice PSA 9 and 10 cards for relatively inexpensively and much less expensive than vintage stuff. And that's probably where I'm going to spend, if I spend any money at all moving forward. It's probably going to be some cards, maybe the occasional comic, maybe the very occasional loose graded figure. So that's a great question, though. Finally, from Ian Irvin, I recently picked up that U95 Elite Trooper that you featured on your What to Buy video, so congrats on that. That was a good pickup. Made a lowball offer and got it for 95 pounds. What a great deal. My question is, what's the best graded figure I have ever picked up for a lowball offer? The one off the top of my head that I can think of was a 65 back clear blister cloud car pilot that was AFA 80 plus, and it had a really bad scuff on the front of it. It was listed for $250. I think I offered $150. And this was not that long ago. It was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And he took it immediately. And I was like, whoa, wow, that was a good deal. Now, I had to send it back in to get it graded. I sent it back in, I think, to CAS, and it came back the same grade, CAS 80 plus. But, you know, $150 for the item. Let's call it another $50 or $60 to grade it. So let's call it, after shipping, $225 for an AFA 80 plus clear blister cloud car pilot 65 back Return of the Jedi. That's tough to find in a clear blister. That off the top of my head is one I can remember. I found on Etsy, as I talked about on the channel, a graded overstock Uze Turkish bootleg AT-AT driver that was non-sonic welded. I found that for like $500, and it's probably worth 5 times that. So those are two that off the top of my head I found. But in terms of making an actual offer that was lowball and I didn't expect them to take, that's probably the top of my head, was that cloud car pilot. Anyway, that's all I really had for this video. Congratulations again to Eduardo and to Nino Brown for winning the 2 giveaways. I still have that giveaway running right now for that Bossk Oratet bootleg in the hot pink flight suit that was kindly donated to the channel from Matthew K. So be sure to go check out that video and enter to win. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon.